Hey guys, it's Lord of the Pogs. Today, I'm sporting my Child's Play t-shirt. Friends till the end. Officially, it's from Child's Play 2, although Curse of Chucky is my favorite Child's Play movie. Some time ago, I saw a thing on Facebook about what if board games were turned into horror movies, with artwork by Justin Bryant. I don't know who Justin is, but he's very creative. I decided to take it one step further and imagine what would these movies be like. So number one is Cooties. Cooties is a dice rolling game, and the goal is to be the first to build a bug-like object from a variety of plastic body parts. Justin imagines that the tagline of the movie would be, "They feed on fear." When I first saw this, the first thing I thought of was Bug, the psychological thriller about a paranoid schizophrenic who thinks he sees bed bugs. Except in Cooties, the bugs would be real. I also thought of a plot similar to that of Birds, but maybe involving bed bugs or some kind of bug, maybe particularly large ones. Number two is Don't Break the Ice. Don't Break the Ice is played with a set of plastic ice blocks and a hammer for each player, who take turns trying to remove the ice blocks with the hammer until the character on top falls through. Justin imagines the tagline of this movie would be "Evil lurks beneath," which seems appropriate. I imagine this movie would be very similar to Stephen King. Maybe a fishing vessel gets stuck in the ice, and they have to go for help walking across the ice. And there's sea monsters underneath, ranging from a kraken to, well, the possibilities are endless. Number three is Mousetrap. Mousetrap is played by moving around the board, building a Rube Goldberg-like mousetrap to capture the other players, eliminating them from the game. Justin imagines that the tagline of this movie would be "Don't Get Caught," which seems equally appropriate for the game, and that it would be a sci-fi original. When I first saw this, the first thing I thought of was Mouse Hunt, obviously. But Mouse Hunt is a comedy. I'm not sure how that would work as a horror movie. But I kept thinking about it, about how the plot of Mouse Hunt is they inherit the mansion, and they have to get rid of the mouse before they can sell the mansion at auction. And I remembered the story of the man from Belgium who hated his family so much he rigged his entire house with booby traps involving shotguns. After he died, police tracked down and disabled all booby traps except for one which they couldn't find. They had to tear down the house. So I imagine would be a combination of both. Some people inherit a mansion or buy a mansion and find out that it's rigged with booby traps, and they have to track down each one and disarm it. But the booby traps wouldn't necessarily have to involve shotguns like the house in Belgium. It could more closely resemble the mousetrap, or it could be something completely different. Again, the possibilities here are endless. Number four is Don't Wake Daddy. Don't Wake Daddy is played by moving around the board trying not to land on noise spaces. If you land on a noise space, you have to push the button so many times before the character pops up. Justin imagines that Don't Wake Daddy would come from the producers of The Strangers, which seems oddly appropriate, and that it would be a New Line Cinema production. New Line Cinema has produced movies such as The Conjuring, It, Final Destination, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street. I was thinking about this for a little while. Don't Wake Daddy would have to involve an evil parent, but not an evil parent like domestic disturbance. It would have to be something a little bit more sinister. What I ended up with was a combination between The Crazies and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Maybe it could be some kind of demonic possession and have elements from movies like Poltergeist or Before I Wake. Whatever the plotline would look like, I think it would be really easy to make a movie like this exceptionally cheesy. And nobody's got time for cheesy horror movies. Horror comedy is a thing, but I'm not really into that. When I sit down to watch a horror movie, I want to see a bona fide horror movie. I definitely think a movie like this could be scary, especially if it's coming from the producers of The Strangers, but it would have to be something that hasn't been done yet. Number five is Uno. Uno is a card game, and the goal is to be the first to get rid of all your cards and score 500 points. Justin imagines that the tagline would be "Pray for a reversal." Since Uno is a card game without a board, without characters, without any kind of storyline, the opportunities here are really, really open, but they're also somewhat limited to avoid straying too far from the game itself. The cover artwork is really, really good, and it looks like a movie I would like to see, but it doesn't give us a whole lot of clues as far as what such a movie would look like. Maybe this is the easy way out, and I'll be the first one to admit it if it is, but I think Uno would essentially be Ouija, but with a deck of Uno cards instead of a Ouija board. Number 6 is Guess Who. Guess Who is played by trying to guess the identity of the other player's chosen character. Justin imagines that the tagline would be the ultimate choice. My go-to when thinking about Guess Who was Saw. Saw involves people who are captured and put in traps and need to fend for themselves against a killer who remains largely unidentified. But in a Guess Who movie, the roles would need to be somewhat reversed. It would need to focus on a killer and people in the traps whose identities we don't know. But nobody likes to root for the bad guy. So maybe the person at the helm could be being orchestrated by a killer who is still largely unidentified. And maybe he would have to choose which traps to set off in a certain order to let the people escape. Since the game is so incredibly basic, I feel like there's plenty of opportunities for a plot that doesn't stray too far from gameplay. Number 7 is Candyland. Candyland is played by drawing a card with a color, and the player moves their piece to the space of that color. Justin imagines that it would be filmed by Tim Burton and produced by Universal Studios, which Universal Studios has produced horror movies like Candyman, Get Out, The Purge, Psycho, Child's Play, Dawn of the Dead, Halloween, and The Invisible Man. If I was going to tag one director to make a movie about Candyland, it would be Tim Burton. It just seems like the most appropriate choice. I think a Candyland movie would be very similar to I Am Legend, Book of Eli, Frozen, and Lord of the Rings. In my make-believe plotline, the king of Candyland has disappeared or gone missing, and the hero, or the main character, has to journey across Candyland to save him. Maybe he knows where he is, or maybe he's going on a journey to find him. Maybe there's some kind of antagonist that he's chasing or he has to go into battle with. But Universal Studios has a reputation for making some very high quality films. And Tim Burton has made movies like Alice in Wonderland, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and A Nightmare Before Christmas that make me think he's the perfect choice. Number 8 is Operation. Operation is played by removing plastic ailments with a pair of tweezers without touching the edge of the cavity opening. Obviously, the first thing I thought of was Hostel, but that's already been done. In fact, it's been done 3 times, and I think people are pretty much done with it. But I couldn't really think of anything else. An evil surgeon, maybe, like Dr. Satan from House of a Thousand Corpses? But as much as I didn't like the Hostel movies, I liked House of a Thousand Corpses even less. But one thing that people do like is seeing a movie that they're familiar with from a different viewpoint. So I think Operation could be the story of Hostel, but maybe from the viewpoint of the rich people who are paying to do the killing. Again, nobody likes to root for the bad guy, but it would be an interesting spin. Number 9 is Chutes and Ladders. Chutes and Ladders is played by rolling dice, and if you land on a square with a ladder, moving across the ladder to the next space, and if you land on a space with a slide, sliding down the slide back to a previous space. Justin imagines that Chutes and Ladders would come from the director of Child's Play, and that the tag would be, "Choose wisely, your life depends on it." I don't know why, but Chutes and Ladders just seems like a movie that Universal would make. And I think it would have a plotline similar to Cube, where several characters wake up in a room, and to escape, they have to move through a maze of ladders and slides. Number 10 is Hungry Hippos. Hungry Hippos is played by using hippo levers to collect colored marbles. Justin imagines that the tagline of this movie would be, "They're hungry," and that it would come from Blumhouse Productions, which has made movies such as Us, Ma, Insidious, Sinister, Hush, and Oculus. Blumhouse Productions has made some of my favorite horror movies, and I imagine that Hungry Hippos would be like a cross between Piranha and Jaws. Except instead of just one great white shark, there would be 4 hippos. Thanks for watching. If you have other ideas about what these movies would look like, I want you to tell me about it in the comments. And if there's other classic board games that you think would work as movies, not just horror movies, but any kind of movie, I want to hear about that too. If you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a tip. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that little bell down in the corner to get notifications on more videos like this one.